Hi everyone! I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. And in this one, I wanted to speak to you about a term that I recently learned. I'm always learning new things from the internet. I love the internet for that. And the term was the fixer INFJ. And it's actually really funny because as soon as I read that term or I read that post, instantaneously it was like light bulbs lit off in my head. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's the term for us. That's exactly what at least I do in my life, is that I have this tendency that I believe, inherently believe, that I have the ability to figure out what each person in my life needs in order to be fixed, in order to fix all of the problems in their life. And I'm constantly in a negative, critical manner, telling them all of these things so that they can be fixed and then they can be happier and then they can live their ideal, amazing life and just be happily ever after kind of thing. And in my head, the solution to their problem, I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, the solution is so freaking clear. I mean, come on, I can see it so clearly, right? And INFJs, obviously, because of our introverted intuition and because of our ability to be empaths and highly sensitive and so many other things, we have an ability a lot of times to look at a person and be like, yeah, this is exactly what you need to do. If you go do that, you'll be perfect. Everything's going to be fixed. In a lot of cases, yeah, it does work out that way, of course. I mean, our introverted intuition is not a joke. And so we will look at someone and be like, yeah, okay, so if you go do that, just go do this particular thing, go read this particular book, or go read that thing, or, go to this country, or whatever it might be. And we give that advice to people, and if they actually take it, which in itself is obviously a big thing, because a lot of times they won't take it. They're like, what are you talking about? So if you give them the advice and they actually end up taking it and they use it, they run it with it, and they're able to actually really inculcate it into their life, then they will most probably, I would say in 95% of the cases, really change their lives or be able to improve their lives in a way that is absolutely palpable. And so, of course, that kind of gives us a little bit of a sense of superiority and a sense of, yeah, I can fix everyone. I can just fix the world. And in the idealistic view, we're not only looking to fix the people around us, we want to fix the entire universe. We want to fix everything that's wrong with the world. We want to fix the earth. We want to fix the politics of the earth. We want to fix the environment. We want to fix the space issues. We want to fix time travel. We want to fix everything. Not that we consider ourselves to be God, but we have this thing that we have this desire to fix people, fix things. And in a lot of cases, as I said, we have a tendency to intuitively know what this particular situation needs in order to be fixed. And then so we go out and tell this person the situation or try to fix the situation in whatever way we are able to. I've noticed for myself, of course, as you might guess, that this tendency obviously it has a positive connotation to it. You're trying to fix people, you're trying to help them out, you're an empath, you see their sadness, you see their misery, you see their depression, you see whatever is going on with them, and you really want to fix them, and you're giving them all this advice. But as I've said before, in our desire to fix people, in our desire to hastily give our advice, in our desire to be straightforward and honest with people around us, we end up being rather derogatory, rather critical, and just putting people down in a way that they really don't actually even hear our advice at the end of it, right? And I do this quite often with the people around me. I notice I'm doing that a lot now because I'm actually noticing myself do it, because I'm realizing that I do it. But, instead of actually being, when someone's complaining to me, for example, they'll be like, oh, I don't like that person. I hate my boss, or whatever it might be. They might come to me and be venting to me about something. Instead of just sitting there and thinking, okay, cool, I think this person just wants to vent. They don't actually want to change their life because they've been venting to me about this particular thing for 20, 30, 40 years now. And so, 30 years, I'm not that old yet. So, or not 40 yet, I'm saying. And so that in itself, we're sitting there thinking, okay, maybe this person just wants to vent. Maybe they just want to keep on speaking about this problem that they have for the rest of eternity. And all we need to do in that moment in time as an INFJ, as a person, as an empath, is sit there, let them vent, listen to them venting, and just be with them, just be there for them. That's all. They really don't actually want advice from us. But in our head, we're looking at their situation, and we've looked at the situation for the last whatever amount of years, or months or weeks, and we know exactly how they could fix the situation. And in our heads, we're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be the savior. I'm going to save this person. I'm going to cure them of all their ills. I'm going to be the person that's going to be like Jesus to them, like obviously not exaggerating a bit. But we have an idea of how they can fix it, and we're like, oh, if they could just fix the situation, they won't be complaining about it anymore. Logical, very logical, yeah? And all we're thinking in our heads, like, I'm sure they want to fix the situation. I'm sure they just don't want to stay in the situation forever. I'm sure they're not just complaining for the sake of complaining. I'm sure they don't like being in a situation like this. Obviously, a lot of times it's actually the opposite. They like being in a situation like this. They like to complain. People like to have situations where they are the victim. They like to play the victim role. They like to be in a situation where they can constantly complain about things. They don't want to change in a lot of cases. Actually, that is one of the biggest lessons I can give you as an older INFJ. People don't want to change. We think they want to change. They think they want to change, but they don't. They don't. And I'm telling you this because I've observed this in so many people. And, I give them advice and I'll constantly be like, oh, you can do this. Or, okay, maybe that didn't work. Okay, how about this? And I constantly give them new and new pieces of advice. Do they do any of it? No. Why am I wasting my time? Why? So all I need to do in that moment in time as an INFJ, as a person, as an individual, is sit there, listen to them complaining, listen to them venting about things, being sad about the fact that their life is terrible, and then be like, yes, I'm sorry, I commiserate with them, I empathize with you, things like that, and then move on, because that's it. They don't want advice from you. You're not going to save them. You're not going to save the world. You might save bits and pieces of the world, and you can focus on the things that you can actually save. But in a lot of cases, people don't want to change. People don't want to be fixed. People don't want advice from you. People don't want you to tell them what to do. They just want you to hear their ailments, their complaints, and their whining, and then move on. That's all. Yeah. So the curse of the fixer INFJ is that we think we can fix people, and we give them advice. We give them criticism. We give them all of this stuff that we think is bounty. We're like giving them all of this information. We're like, oh my God, this is juicy stuff. This is great. They're going to listen to it. They're going to be awesome, and they're going to change their lives. And this is brilliant. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy. And so we give them all this advice, and nothing happens. And then we get sad, and we get depressed. And we're like, oh my God, I wasted all that time on that person. No worries. Next time around, maybe they'll do it better. And I have this constant hope in my head with some people in my life that, I give them advice. They'll improve. And in my head, they're going to improve immensely, and their life is going to be completely transformed, but they don't take the advice. And then I'm like, well, maybe this wasn't the right thing for them. Maybe something else. And so I'll give them some other piece of advice. And again, it wasn't the right thing for them. And then I'll be like, maybe something else. And they're like, no. And so I'm literally giving them advice over advice over after advice after advice. I mean, like years and years of it, and they're not doing anything to change their lives. Eventually, I get resentful and angry and bitter at the fact that I wasted all this time on this person where really they didn't want to change. And if I just realized that from the beginning, if I could just have reconciled myself or conciled myself to the idea that they're not interested in changing, you don't need to fix them, they just want to complain, just sit there and listen to them. No need to criticize, no need to give them advice, no need to tell them anything. All they want you to do is sit there and take it in and then push it away. Just like let it go, right? And so I would advise you, if you are a newish INFJ and you're still just learning about yourself, this is one of the paramount advice I would give to an INFJ in general, is that if you're finding that you're burning out or you're exhausted or you're resentful of the people around you because you're giving them advice and they're not taking it, just forget about it. People don't want to change. They don't want advice from you. They really just want to be stuck, not stuck, but be in their comfort zones. And eventually, maybe they'll change on their own. Maybe they will ask you for advice eventually. But at this point in time, you're trying to fix something that doesn't want to be fixed. And that's literally the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting things to change. Well, giving the same advice over and over again, or giving advice to the same person over and over again and expecting them to change is also the definition of insanity, I would say. And so basically, I think that's one of the reasons why INFJs have such a hard time living in this world, because we are trying to live in a world where everyone else seems sane and we seem insane because we want to change and improve, but they don't, right? That's not actually the case. Most people just want to stay the same, and that's okay. It's not like everyone has to be exactly the same as us. Not everyone has to always change all the time and improve all the time. That's not how the world works, right? And so all we need to do is accept that. Accept that they don't want to change. Accept that you don't need to give them any advice. Accept that you don't need to fix anything. Accept that you're just going to let it go and move on to something that you can actually work upon, right? And so as I said, some people in my life, I just don't give advice to anymore. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth the time, effort, energy I'd put into it. All I can be or I can do is be there for them. I sit there and let them vent and bitch. Sometimes I can't help it though. I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? And I will end up giving criticism and advice, and I'm like, why did I do that? So I'm still learning myself. So I must say that I'm not there yet. Again, I'm so grateful you guys are listening, subscribing, commenting. If you have questions about this video, I think it's pretty straightforward. But if you have questions, obviously comment below and I shall do a follow-up video. And if you're thinking that there are exceptions in this case, there are no exceptions. No exceptions at all. Unless someone comes to you and asks you for advice, do not go and give advice to people. It's a waste of your time. I'm telling you from great experience. All right, again, thank you so much. The reason I'm not doing an outdoor video today is because there's construction going on outside and it's so freaking loud. So hopefully this is okay for you guys. Again, thank you so much, and I shall see you the next time around. Bye for now.